starting from 1963 at Tumba, then to 75 of Aryabhatta, from Soyuz to SpaceX. How do you see the Indian story evolving?
From a rocket which was borrowed from America, the payload on it from France, carried by a helicopter of Russia. We had our first sounding rocket to Chandrayaan 3.
2014, sir, you had one startup in space, sir. Today you have over 200.
There was an opportunity. We had the talent, we had the caliber.
Do you think, sir, the private sector in the space domain is likely to grow?
What you are asking is, are these startups really going to deliver what ISRO took 60 years to deliver?
Do you think there's a case in point now for dedicated military satellites?
We have to implement what we have planned.
So all your bases are apparently covered.
By 2040, an Indian on an Indian spacecraft is there on the moon.
Hello and welcome to a new episode of Cutting Edge, the show at the intersection of technology, geopolitics and strategy. Today we speak about the Indian space odyssey and India becoming a space superpower. To discuss all of that, we have with us Lt Gen AK Bhat, PVSM, UYSM, AVSM, VSM, the previous DG Military Operations of the Indian Army, Military Secretary and the co-commander of the Chinar Corps. Today, he comes to us as the Director General of Indian Space Association, the premier space industry body which looks at all things space. Welcome to you, sir.
Thank you. It's my pleasure to be here with Cutting Edge.
Thank you very much, sir. What a pleasure it is to host you here. So let me start straight away with you, sir. That we've seen a great transition in India from Soyuz, which had Wing Commander Rakesh Sharma. I used to be in school, sir, to Shubhanshu Shukla, who goes on SpaceX. So from Soyuz to SpaceX, it's been a great transition. So how do you see the Indian story evolving, starting from, 1963 at Tumba, then to 75 of Aryabhatta, then thereafter, you've opened the space sector today and so on and so forth. How do you see the story evolving, sir?
So what I would start with is that the fathers of the nation, one of the domains, in fact, two domains in technology, which they looked at, and they found people who were capable enough. One was the nuclear domain and
Yes.
the other was space. And fortunately, the father of space in India, Dr. Sarabhai, was really a visionary. And that is why, from a rocket which was borrowed from America,
Yes.
the payload on it from France,
Yes.
carried by a helicopter of Russia, Soviet Union, we had our first sounding rocket way back.
Yes.
And from there, we have evolved today to having Chandrayaan 3, that is landing on the southern pole. It's been a great journey. And great journey led by motivated scientists with the support always coming from the highest office in India, that is from the PMO's office.
Okay, sir.
That's been a great part of the journey.
Great, actually.
And like you said, going to the space, our aspiration is that by 2040, an Indian on an Indian spacecraft is there on the moon.
So,
But to lead to that journey, one of the steps taken now is Shubhanshu Shukla going with Axiom 4 mission and there being at the International Space Station. The experience he's going to get from here,
okay, sir.
and especially in space, where India doesn't have an experience, is sending a human being.
Okay.
And here the sensitivities of safety, security are multifold there. So to get a first-hand experience, there is this young man. And very interestingly, like you said, Mr. Rakesh Sharma was in 84 when you were in school, and maybe I just joined the army.
Yes.
To today, Shubhanshu Shukla, who was born 1 year after that. And he is the next ambassador who's gone to space. Of course, we should not forget Indian origin people, Sunita Williams, Kalpana Chawla, who have also been part of the space journey. But these two gentlemen specifically, and specifically Shubhanshu Shukla, is the first step for our journey to the moon.
Oh, excellent, sir. So 41 years between both of them, sir. And I'm looking forward to, the Gaganyaan and the Gaganyatris.
Yeah.
and the deep space exploration, and of course the Bharat space station at someday becoming a reality soon, sir.
Yeah.
So that, I think, will be a great feather in the cap of this country, which has done so well in the space sector. But sir, tell me, do you feel that the Department of Space inherently has always been looked under the aegis of the Prime Minister's office? And if we see, there's been a lot of continuity in the last around 10 to 11 years. Do you find this to be a good thing to happen?
Oh, always.
Okay,
That has been one great reason that, firstly, the chairman of ISRO is also the Secretary of Defense.
Okay, sir.
And structurally, the only non-IS officer who is a secretary in a department, that is the Department of Space. And secondly, this Department of Space has always been under the PMO.
Yes.
So from previous prime ministers, from Indira Gandhi and now PM Modi, there has been the total support of the government on that.
Wonderful, sir.
And what this present government has done is a giant step of allowing private sector to come into
Oh, yes,
space.
that's my next question to you, sir. I mean, it's been a great thing to happen that sometime around 2020, this
Yeah.
need was felt.
Yeah.
That this space should be now open to the private entities, and I think it's been a landmark step. 2014, sir, if I recall, and I see the statistics correct, you had one startup in space, sir.
Yeah.
Today you have over 200. You are the premier industry body which looks after it. Your views on that, sir?
So this is, the early starters, and thanks to them, started in 2012.
Sir.
And one of them is still existing and operational. And
Even
that-
now, sir?
Yes, that's Dhruva Space. But what has, of course, the journey has been ever since the government indicated its intent, that is in 2018, and made a declaration in 2020. There's been a huge upsurge in startups, and startups who have done something on ground. I'll talk about it later.
Yes.
But let me go back a little and start the journey, how privatization of space has taken place.
Yes.
And there's thanks to the open sky policy which came in USA.
Okay, sir. So
And
that's-
that policy allowed private sector in USA to come into space.
when was this, sir? Sometime?
This was in the late 1990s.
Oh, okay, sir.
And the outcome of that was that by 2000, there were rich private sector players who got into space.
Okay.
And three people who have really brought a revolution in space is Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, and the owner of Virgin Galactic,
Of course.
Richard Branson. And what has happened is they put their heart as well as money in it. The difference between the views of Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos is only one. Elon Musk wants to go to the Mars, while Jeff Bezos first wants to go to the moon and then Mars.
Oh, wonderful.
And this has brought in a lot of energy, money, and more importantly, disruptive technologies.
Oh, yes.
And by disruptive technologies, what I mean to say is reusable rocket has not been brought by any sovereign. It has been brought by a private player,
Absolutely.
SpaceX.
Absolutely.
Now, pre-orbital launches and other launches are
Yes.
being done by private
Yes.
players. And as you're aware, the International Space Station, the spacecraft taking people there is also owned by a private player.
Falcon 9. That's correct, sir.
And the Starship.
And the Starship.
Now, this change, the government in India also realized there was an opportunity. We had the talent, we had the caliber, and we should open space now to private players.
Excellent.
And in June 2020, the government announced that now private sector can get in. And that is why in October, my association was made to basically work on this. And a very important government organization called InSpace was created. That is led by Dr. Pawan Goenka.
Yes.
It is a unique organization because it has responsibility for promotion, authorization, and regulation.
All three.
All three.
Okay, sir.
And this also was formed around the same time when we were created. And the first thing what we have been able to do is get the space policy through.
Yes.
And this is one policy uniquely from the first word to the last full stop. There has been inputs taken from the private sector.
Okay. So multi-stakeholder. basically.
And so the policy has evolved into
Yes.
a much better one. And this is a very forward-looking policy. It uses a term called non-government entities.
Non-government entities. sir. All
Which
right.
basically means public sector,
Yes. sir.
private sector, startups,
Sir.
and everyone. They are allowed to do all activities in space, from communication, PNT, the classical ones, to even the last one is they are allowed to do asteroid mining or make colonies in space.
Oh, wow, sir. That is rather futuristic, but
it has been given. And what it also defined for ISRO was that the mundane or more routine issues, they should move out from that
sir.
and look at research, development, and missions like the mission to the moon.
Oh, wonderful. So now that is really very enabling. But do you think, sir, the private sector in the space domain is likely to grow? I mean, we keep hearing about, Dhruva ISpA, Skyroot, all these great entities. There's apparently an entity which is making small satellites in Ahmedabad today, sir. I mean, are they going to be growing
so
at a
one
pace?
One is the thrust which emanates from the PMO's office,
Sir.
the NSA's office, and creation of in space has really brought in energy to the space sector.
Okay.
So now, in performance, and what you are asking is, are these startups really going to deliver what ISRO took 60 years to deliver?
Yes.
Emphatic yes.
Okay.
And I'll give you an example is, just in 3 to 4 years, 2 of these companies, Skyroot and Agnikul,
yes,
have been able to do pre-orbital launches.
Oh, yes, of course. They are the talk of the town.
And by maybe next year, they will have their orbital launches and they will be competing in the global space market.
Wonderful.
There are 5 companies in India who have made satellites and launched them.
Astounding.
That includes
yes,
Dhruva, that includes Tata,
yes,
that includes Ajista, and Pixel,
of course, sir.
and Digantara. And even in space debris, which is detection and other things, there is a company in India which is operating
already.
Digantara.
Already, sir. But then, sir, when you look at this sector, since I've been quite, in touch with technologies and been in the semiconductor space, etc., for a very long time now. My, question to you is, sir, is there any dearth of funding, sir? Is there a dearth of, financing these options in the near future, insofar as the private entities are concerned, or are we good to go?
So I'll start with when I made this association,
sir,
and I met all the possible stakeholders.
Yes.
I listed out what were the challenges.
Okay, sir.
And especially what the private sector told me.
Yes.
And the challenges were, sir, there are no regulations.
Okay, sir.
We cannot use facilities which are there with ISRO.
Okay, sir.
We have an issue of manpower.
Okay, sir.
We have an issue of assured demand.
Oh, yes, of course.
And lastly, we do not have funds. So I have been lobbying for it, working for it with the government. And the positives are that today InSpace has declared 2 funds.
Okay.
There's a 1,000 crore fund, which is for startups and others.
1,000 crores.
SIDBI is running it, and it is to incentivize many startups, the early money which can be given to them. Then there is a 500 crore technology development fund for moving companies from TRL 3 to TRL 9 and commercialize it. So if they have a developed product, they can again be supported in that. Apart from that, if you know, the R&D fund has been just announced yesterday.
1 lakh crores.
This will also happen.
Of course.
But of course, I still feel that is not adequate. We need much more.
Yes.
And 2 other positives have been, the government is looking at 2 public-private partnerships.
Okay, sir.
One is in the EO satellite domain, where the final RFPs have come. And even the bids are there. It will be announced very soon by InSpace, where 9 to 12 satellites are being made by the private sector for all ministries other than MOD. And that project would be about, say, 1,200 crores. 300 crores as a soft loan, a long-term loan, would be given by the government.
Oh, excellent, sir. So now I come back to the same, except MOD has been my cue, sir. So we've just, seen the hostile actions playing out between 7th and 10th of May, sir. And as the Honorable Prime Minister says, Op Sindoor is ongoing. So do you think there's a case in point now for dedicated military satellites for the Indian Army, Navy and Air Force? So that's one. And the second part is, if that is the case, then how do we look at it and how do we employ it to get a better ISR picture, sir?
So, firstly, I'll talk of Op Sindoor.
Yes, sir.
And my take is from the open domain, or I have no inputs, which actually what happened. But my assessment is number one.
Sure.
In ISR, we had just 8 to 9 satellites, Resat and Cartosat series. And this was with the revisit time, very limited facility or very limited resource for today's environment.
Okay, sir.
The positive step in that is 2023 October, the government announced SBS-3.
SPS-3. That's correct.
That is satellite-based surveillance 3.
Yes.
There are 52 satellites being made in it.
Yes, absolutely.
And already the 3 companies have been identified. They have been given orders. But the challenge is that has happened this year. By the time they will make it, it is 2029.
So 4 years.
So in 4 years, our dependencies have to be on international players. That is the way it, as I know, it reflected during Op Sindoor, where everyone knows that Maxar provided quite a bit. Not only Maxar, a number of ISR companies, international companies, we were able to use their resources for what we required. But what our final requirement is persistent ISR. When our aircrafts hit an airfield in Pakistan, immediately there should be information as to what has happened there.
PSDA,
Yes.
straight.
That will take a little long time.
Yes.
And these 52 satellites will not be adequate for it.
Even then, sir.
Yes. We would require much more. 52 may give you a 24-hour or 12-hour revisit.
My God, that's still...
So, but the first step has been taken.
Okay, sir.
As far as satellite communication goes, which is a very, very important dimension, you are aware there is one which was wrongly called the naval satellite, the Air Force satellite,
Yes.
and now the Army satellite which
Yes.
is going to come.
Yes.
So in GSO, that is the geosynchronous orbit, we have satellites to provide satellite communication to the Indian Armed Forces.
Okay.
But in future, with much more data links required, much more communication required, and in the world now, low Earth orbit is the new domain.
Of course, sir. Of course.
We have to look at a constellation for India, which is a combination of GEO, MEO, and LEO.
Yes.
In the world today, in low Earth orbit, there is OneWeb Eutelsat that fortunately has a large ownership from India, from Bharti Airtel. Then there is Starlink, which is planning to come to India,
Yes.
and Project Kuiper from Jeff Bezos, which is coming. Now we have 2 options. We ride over what is available internationally, but most importantly in communication, you are aware,
Yes.
we should have
Our
sovereign capability.
Sovereign capabilities. So that's why actually you've already answered my question. So my next question to you was this great debate, sir, which is going on between this GEO and LEO.
Yeah.
MEO, a lot of people are not talking about, but both have their advantages, disadvantages. So do you think GEO is as important as LEO, or it's just a hype, sir?
For certain things, GEO has major advantages.
Okay, sir.
And the major advantage is with very limited satellites, you can look at
A
India
large area.
or whichever area you are.
Large area.
Theoretically, 3 satellites in GEO can make you cover the entire globe.
That's it, sir.
That's it. Because it is positioned in such a manner. And secondly, it is static. It is not moving. You don't have to move your
Yes, sir.
transponders or anything.
Nothing.
It is static and it is there. The only disadvantage of geosynchronous orbit was and is latency.
Oh, yes, of course.
And that latency in today's warfare, which is moving so fast, and even an issue of capacities, because that is limited to the number of satellites.
Correct.
Low Earth orbit is what the disruption has taken place.
Oh, yes.
And it is led by Starlink, which has more than 7,000 satellites. He plans to have it to 32,000 satellites. Satellites going over the globe, they are going today, and providing seamless communication to everyone.
My God, just look at this. What's going to be happening to the space, sir?
It is already there. 6,000 already there. 640 satellites of Eutelsat OneWeb are there, which are providing communication. So what they have beaten is the latency issue.
Latency, yes.
And definitely they have many advantages over them. Now coming to ISR.
So,
In ISR, any camera which is the best camera, the closer it is to Earth is the best.
of course.
So that is why LEO has a distinct advantage over GEO.
Okay, sir.
In fact, there are hardly any ISR satellites in GEO. A few which are there, maybe America and China has it.
Okay.
They are errant ones for triggering, for covering a vast area
So,
and giving the first tip for you to focus with your low Earth orbit satellites.
Oh, okay, that way.
So in ISR, distinctly, LEO has a major advantage. In GEO, it is a combination of both. Now for navigation, the GPS system is totally in the middle Earth orbit.
So MEO.
India's NAVIC is a combination of MEO and LEO.
Yes.
While the BEDU is
Chinese
is a combination of BEO, LEO and GEO.
All three, sir.
And it is the most effective, they claim.
But the Chinese claim
a
lot of things.
But yes, with the number of satellites they have, technologically it is possible.
So, like you just mentioned about the Starlink, and you spoke about the BEDU, and, we are looking at all three segments of, LEO, MEO and GEO and all of that, sir. There's going to be a lot of space traffic, sir. So now, there's this new buzzword which is coming around called space situational awareness. We only heard it while we were in uniform, sir. There's some situational awareness now, and there's, loosely called as space debris. So how do you intend looking at this sector insofar as we are concerned, sir?
So I'll just go to the, basics of how military uses space, starting from that. We call it as a domain of warfare.
Yes.
But basically it means is step one, enhancing the capabilities of the Army, Navy and Air Force.
Okay, sir.
In what? One is satellite
communications.
The number two is in PNT, that is position, navigation, and timing.
Yes.
That means guiding, telling the troops where they are, and also guiding your weapon system.
Absolutely. That's critical actually, sir.
Yeah. Yes. And the third and most important is ISR.
Yes.
But in new times now, then is weather, knowing the weather, especially for spacecraft, for aircrafts and other things. But the other domain which has now come is what we call the SSA and STA.
Okay, sir.
Space situational awareness and space domain awareness.
Okay, sir.
The little difference, simply put, between SSA and STA, SSA is knowing what all assets of yours and adversaries are there. SDA is also knowing where they will be in the future, calculating how they will be positioned. SDA comes into more of a defensive domain, a more intricate analysis.
Okay, sir.
Now, because space assets are developing for all the countries and their fighting in land, air and sea is dependent on what is there in space, you have to protect your space assets.
Absolutely, sir.
So to protect it, the first thing is to know where your assets and the adversary assets are. So that is how SDA is coming. Now there's a new player in space,
sir.
And maybe I'm using the wrong word. That is debris.
Of course.
And as satellites have been made, and as nations have tried ASAT, that is direct ascent anti-satellite weapons.
Yes.
They have created debris. Or accidental clashes create debris. Today there are 36,000 debris which are more than 10 centimeter in size, which are being monitored by various agencies world over.
36,000.
36,000 of which can be seen and are monitored.
The rest, there are some which are not seen also, sir.
There is 11,000 tons of debris in the space.
11,000 tons of debris in space.
Yes. And 1 centimeter to 10 centimeter is 130 million debris.
100.
Now, what is the implication of that?
Staggering.
Anything which moves in space,
sir,
moves at a speed of 7 to 8 kilometers per minute.
Absolutely.
If you calculate it, it is faster than a bullet.
Yes.
So even if it is small, if it hits any spacecraft, and you are aware that many times space stations have got a hit and they've taken measures against it, this is becoming a real area of concern, especially for the low Earth orbit.
Oh, so only basically for the LEO.
Because closer space and more satellites are there. So in SSA, we have got a company in India called Digantara, which is planning to make telescopes. Making telescopes, then radars, they will take inputs from others and then calculate the data to know how you can avoid a debris or a satellite in space and have a full space domain awareness with them. They launched a satellite this year called Scott. That is the first satellite in space.
Okay, sir.
And they would in future launch more satellites, provide this service to the Indian Armed Forces, to India, and maybe abroad.
Wonderful. So we are on our way to becoming one of the countries which could have something like a SpaceX at some stage in time. So, sir, we also need to now look at two things, sir. The first part is the space economy, sir. I mean, there is an economy of space. We are we've been launching great satellites of so many countries, multiple satellite launches and all of that, sir. And we used to have something called the Antriksh, the ANTRIX Corporation
Antriksh Station.
earlier, which was a commercial arm of the ISRO. And now suddenly we have another agency, sir, called the NSIL. That's the New Space India Limited. Any change in both of them, sir, in terms of their charter or responsibilities?
Yeah. So what has happened is, Antriksh, of course, is on the way to being closed.
Okay.
And if you are aware of the Devas Antriksh scandal, where Devas has sued Antriksh for a number of things, for the spectrum and all. So it was a public sector company.
Yes.
It was with ISRO. It is no more now into the activities.
Okay.
All activities have moved, and that is what the new policy says.
Yes.
That NSIL, New Space India Limited, will be the public sector face of ISRO.
So the commercial responsibility shifts there.
Shifted to
NSIL.
Okay. And so NSIL is looking at all transfer of technologies, many of them. It is looking at like this PPP model which is coming. So, firstly, PSLVs, 5 PSLVs, as you are aware, are being made by the private sector, that is HAL and L&T.
Excellent, sir.
Thereafter, LVM3, which is GSLV, would be produced under a PPP model in the future, and work for that is going on. That is being done by NSIL. So anything, and now the SBS3 contract for the armed forces is also moving through
the NSIL.
Through NSIL. The procurement and whole procedure,
everything
has been done, because there has to be technology milestones which have to be met and other things.
Yes.
So NSIL is the public sector in face of ISRO. It has a very critical role in this privatization which is taking place.
So basically the forerunner for all space privatization now will be NSIL.
NSIL, and of course in space is the one which does authorization.
All three things. So it's quite seamlessly made. So then the structure is seamlessly made. So you have you have ISRO, you have InSpace in place, and then you have the NSIL. So all your bases are apparently covered if you look at it for the future, sir.
So the previous chairman of ISRO used to say, when he took over, that space from ISRO now has become the responsibility of the Indian space enterprise.
Excellent.
And the Indian space enterprise has private players, space associations, academia, NSIL, InSpace, and of course led by ISRO.
Excellent. So I think at some stage in time, we need or maybe we will have a model like NASA and SpaceX coexisting together. I think that's what the future looks at as we look at, sir. So, but in spite of all of this, do you really think that there is a lot of impetus which needs to be given to certain parts of the space sector which still remain a little unaddressed or something, sir?
There's a defined method and the government is aware what has to be done.
Okay, sir.
What is more important is we have to implement what we have planned to do.
Absolutely.
And the major issue, as you said, it is technology will not be a problem, it is finances. Money. More and more money will have to be put in, and the government is showing its intent to that. Even in fact, we are for the future asking for GSTs, PLIs, and one very positive thing which has happened last year, or is happening this year, is 6 states have announced their space policy.
Yes.
Now to us it is a very, very important impetus for them to attract private space companies to come in their states and to develop capability.
And talent, sir, the workforce. I mean, that itself is going to be a very, very major, great thing to happen for India. But in the same breath, sir, concurrently, when you look at it, are we also looking at reusable rockets at a later stage? Are we looking at component manufacturing in airspace domain, which is very high-end, sir, which is really high-ended? You can't, just get up in the morning and say that I will make space-grade products.
So what I'll give you two examples, and you have to make your own assessment. Skyroute's body
sir,
is being made by new fiber. It is
Oh.
a weaved fiber and
Okay.
a metal which is again it is a metal made in India. Everything of it is being provided to it by Indian suppliers.
What a heartening thing to happen, sir.
Then there's
Excellent.
another company called Ajista which is makes ceramics,
Yes, sir.
and there are new ceramics which are being made in India. So not that everything is available in India what is space grade. The weakness, major area of weakness, if I would say, is sensors.
Sensors.
Because sensors are still coming from international suppliers. We need to develop that also. And I'm very sure as the market develops, that will also happen.
Wonderful. So I think once all this gets into place, then we will relive my school days where one heard space, the final frontier. These are the voyages by Starship Enterprise. Iconic stuff,
Yeah.
sir. And one read Carl Sagan so intricately once I was in school. It's still such a great thing to see. So space, and you see Shubhanshu Shukla in space today, and you see the great work being done by the Indian Space Association, amalgamating it along with the InSpace, and you have the NSIL and so many other things. So I think Indian space is headed for a great trajectory, and India is likely to be a space superpower. So I think very easily in the recent future, so to say.
Definitely. We are among the very few spacefaring nations of the world.
Yes.
We have proved ourselves after the Chandrayaan 3 mission, after the Mangalyaan mission, and we will continue to do that, I'm very sure, with now the cooperation of private sector.
Excellent, sir. So thank you very much, sir. And just imagine the private sector coming to play, the great stuff that the Indian space sector is doing, and the strides it's taking to make India absolutely Atmanirbhar Bharat. We thank you so much, sir, for being with us today and giving such great thoughts to us. I think it's been a very enlightening discussion. So one never knew about so many other things that are a part of the space, ecosystem. And all I can do is just thank you for being with us. And we look forward to you being with us again, sir, in a very short time from now, sir. Thank you
Always
very much,
there,
sir.
and it's been a pleasure and an honor to be there. I wish all the good luck to you all.
Thank you very much, sir. Very kind of you, sir.